At the height of the Cold War in the 1960s and 70s, the Bulgarian state security services once had a top-secret, highly trained unit responsible for the assassination of enemy agents around the world. Now, it used all manner of spy gadgets to kill its targets, including bullet-firing umbrellas and poison knives, and it became known as the Murder Bureau.
There is everything to play for. You had to have spies and double spies who had skills in espionage, tracking, monitoring, kidnapping, and of course, killing and wiping your traces clean.
Its targets are dissidents, but also former intelligence agents who've defected. Those are the ones who are really hated. Those are the ones who are regarded as traitors.
This was all really James Bond. All of the gadgets sort of reminiscent of a Q, whether it's the umbrellas or the pellets, and all of the sort of the covert ways that this was done.
The whole damn thing was very secret, undercover, and of course could have, for want of a better word, blown up big time into World War III.
During the Cold War, the Bulgarian Secret Service had a top-secret and highly trained kill squad who were tasked with eliminating people on foreign soil. It was called the Murder Bureau and was designated simply as Service 7. Details of who was assassinated and why have only come to light in the past 10 years or so, and even today, this whole subject is considered classified, and very few people here in Bulgaria want to talk about it. In many ways, the Murder Bureau was straight out of the novels of Ian Fleming and Len Deighton. Anonymous men slipping unnoticed in and out of European cities, carrying out stealthy assassinations using all manner of bizarre James Bond-like gadgets. The targets of these operations carried code names such as the Black, Traitor, X, Hamlet, Betrayer, and Widower.
The Murder Bureau was a covert counter-espionage unit created by the Bulgarian Communist Party to carry out the most sensitive and deadly of operations against enemies of the state.
You've got to imagine this is the time of the Cold War. Anyone that's seen as a political dissident, and this doesn't have to be someone that's actually protesting. It can be a journalist, it can be a writer, it could be a lecturer. They're seen as a threat. Then this murder squad, which is actually made up a handful of people, something in the region of a dozen people, goes out and gets the job done.
Service 7 was very, very secretive. To be quite honest with you, even to this day, if you interviewed, say, the head of the Secret Service, he probably wouldn't know, certainly the names of most of his operatives. They had code names, all manner of ways of keeping it very, very secret.
Alexia Dimitrova is a Bulgarian investigative journalist who has spent over 20 years looking into the files and history of the Murder Bureau. Over the last 10 years, she has been able to compile a detailed and extensive list of the operations, agents, and methods since its creation back in 1964.
It was very secretive. There's only rumors at the beginning of 90s. I was not able to find any documents until 2006. And before that, I sued the Bulgarian intelligence service because I wanted these documents, and they said me, no, we don't have any documents. But later on, I was able to obtain these documents and to find some interesting stuff there. I found documents that they targeted, they pursue Bulgarian defectors abroad. And I found out documents that they pursued more than about 10 people, 10 Bulgarian defectors to 9 countries around the world to try to poison them, to kill them, to kidnap them. In a way, it was hit squad.
Within the Bulgarian intelligence service, Service 7 was very much need to know. It was secret within secret, and it was dedicated to tracking, monitoring, and then eradicating dissidents, but not dissidents within Bulgaria, dissidents who had gone abroad. So if they were going to kill them, it involved something very subtle and out of the ordinary. They couldn't use guns in the street of, say, London. I mean, it's a major point that they were actually operating on somebody else's sovereign territory.
Service 7 was not so big in the beginning. When I established it in '64, I read in the documents that they were only 7 people, and I even have the list of the people. But in late '60s, they become probably 20, even more, because they need more personnel to carry on these tasks.
The murder bureau was clearly very secret. Like, unless you were at the very, top echelons of Bulgarian intelligence, you didn't know. And in effect, it had to be this secret. These people were there to assassin. They were there to decide who was doing something wrong and to execute them almost immediately. So the fewer people that knew, the safer it was to carry out what was sort of the ultimate penalty.
The most famous assassination by the Murder Bureau took place on Waterloo Bridge in London on September the 11th, 1978. The victim was Georgie Marov.
Markov's murder was straight out of a spy novel and seen as a chilling indicator of the Bulgarian Secret Service's ruthlessness. Markov was waiting for a bus here on Waterloo Bridge when someone brushed past him. He felt a sharp stab in his leg, but at the time thought nothing more of it. 4 days later, he died in hospital.
Georgie Marov remains one of the most intriguing hits of the Murder Bureau. He leaves Bulgaria when it's still a communist country, and he's absolutely disgusted with the politics there. So for the next 9 years, he's on the BBC, he's on Radio Free Europe, just giving it his all about how corrupt his country is.
Now, this guy had defected from Bulgaria about 10 years previously, and he was, very vocal in the UK about what had gone on in Bulgaria. He was on the BBC talking about it. He was writing about it. So he was a thorn in their side.
He's a very, very powerful voice against the Bulgarian regime, and the regime wants him silenced. And of course, this is the job for Service 7. One evening, early evening, Markov is crossing Waterloo Bridge, and he waits by the bus stop just at the top of the bridge to get his bus to the BBC, where he is working. And suddenly he feels this prick in the back of his thigh. And he turns around, bewildered as you might be, to see a man who's dropped an umbrella, then races across the road and gets into a cab and scuttles off.
They chose to shoot him with a pellet gun designed to look like an umbrella on Waterloo Bridge, where there's hundreds of people during the day. And the reason that this worked so well is because, Markov didn't even notice. I mean, he kind of felt something hit his leg. It was a bit uncomfortable, but he goes off to work. He speaks to his colleagues about being bitten, by being stung by something that's kind of getting really uncomfortable and itchy.
Over the next few hours, he begins to feel more and more sick, more and more unwell. And he goes to hospital. But of course, no one knows exactly what is happening to him until a very sharp-eyed medic suddenly spots this small capsule embedded in his leg, and it soon emerges that this is actually this very, very dangerous compound called ricin.
That was it then. The balloon went up, the press got hold of it, and he died within 4 days. And then things really got serious, and of course, the story went worldwide. And of course, that's really what Service 7 wanted.
Very few today will admit to being part of the Murder Bureau or discuss their operations. But Alexia has tracked down a small number of people here in Sofia who have agreed to meet me, including the daughter of one of its targets. Natalia Mikhneva's father was a Bulgarian agent who fell foul of his bosses in Sofia. The result was an attempted poisoning.
So, Natalia, why was your father targeted by Service 7?
Може би по-скоро е трябвало да бъде наказан за решението да бъде свободомислещ. Аз поне така смятам. Не мисля, че той е представлявал някаква опасност за властта и за системата.
He was working for the Bulgarian state security. This is very official in the documents. They sent him abroad in Oxford as a student, undercover. And after that, because he defected, they wanted probably to punish him, and he got that sentence. So for a while, for a short time, he was kind of part of the Bulgarian intelligence.
Did they ever try and kill your father?
Много по-късно, когато се запознах с материалите по делото на баща ми, разбрах, че неговия баща, моя дядо, е бил изпратен в Англия, за да поговори с него и да го убеди да се върне. Като подарък дядо ми е носил парче луканка, оставил му го е. Баща ми се усъмнил в цялата тази работа и след като дядо ми си е тръгнал, е дал парче от тази луканка на някакво куче, което след малко умряло. И е твърдял пред близките си, че наистина се опитват да го убият, макар че отначало не всички са приемали това като достоверно, смятали са го за параноя. Но е така.
There are so many people in Bulgaria who have lost their fathers. They disappeared, probably in the night. No one knew where they'd gone, no one knew what happened to them. And sometimes 40, 50 years later, the researchers are now being able to go to these documents and actually tell these orphans, for want of a better word, what happened to Dad, and at least lay the ghosts to rest.
There is very little evidence left of communist Bulgaria and the Cold War in Sofia today. But Alexia has managed to get me access to the former headquarters of Bulgarian intelligence. It was in this building, in the 60s and 70s, that hundreds of political prisoners were kept, questioned and tortured.
Okay, this building is now National Archive, but it used to be, until 1972, the headquarters of the Bulgarian state security. And come, I'll show you something very interesting, I promise. Here, in the basement, there were cells of the Bulgarian state security where they probably torture people or whatever things they can do to political enemies.
This building was infamous in Bulgaria and feared by many. If you were brought back here in the 60s and 70s for questioning, it was going to be a brutal time.
Be careful, because here is a little bit dark. Be careful. Okay, be careful.
Yeah. So this is the basement of the Secret Service building?
Exactly, yeah.
So prisoners were kept in here?
Yeah, in this used to be cell probably, and they kept the prisoners here, and they tortured them, and they beaten them severely just to extract some evidences from them.
It must have been terrifying.
I think so, yeah. It's really very You know, see this, it's the smell of probably here is people's blood is around this walls.
So tell me what might have gone on in this room.
I heard about witnesses who they hear screamings outside of the building here because obviously the tortures of people were just severe.
So you've spoken to people who might have been held in this cell.
Yeah.
And what did they tell you?
That it was just cruel, very, very severe beatings.
Not much remains of communist Bulgaria, but in Sofia there is a building that is probably the last testament to the murder bureau, where it has cells, little rooms that were probably used as torture chambers, where members of the bureau would interrogate and try to persuade in every manner possible the enemy of the state to reveal their secrets.
Where is the light? Oh, that's it, yeah. Yep. So nowadays it's just normal building. You see, they put the pipes for the central heating. But time ago, it's obviously just regular cell.
So they'd have chained political prisoners up in here and then beat confessions out of them, is that?
I would say political enemies. The people who are severe anti-communists, like my father, for instance. I don't know, has he been here, but eventually he has been, because later he was sent to labor camps.
So hang on, your own father might have been kept down here?
Might be, I don't know, because when I read his secret file, I didn't know evidences where he has been interrogated, but after that I read documents that he has been sent to labor camps for his anti-communists.
These are makeshift prison cells where people would have been beaten and confessions extracted.
Yeah.
It's like a scene from Midnight Express. I can imagine the interrogators washing the blood from their hands in that scene.
Absolutely true, you are right. But I want to show you something more. It's a kind of electrical system which is going to a big tube with water, and with electricity they torture people eventually. It sounds like, very scared.
They're electrocuting prisoners here.
Yeah, I've heard about it, yeah.
That must have been hell.
Yeah.
In that basement, obviously a chair, you'd be sat there, you'd be interrogated, probably beaten, but also still preserved, there are two boxes, electrical boxes from the 60s that are not connected in any way now, but were originally apparently connected to a metal bed. People would be strapped to the bed. All manner of electrocution to various parts of the body would be carried out. This was a dirty war.
Boris Valadsky was a spy who worked for the powerful military intelligence unit of the mighty KGB during the latter days of the Cold War. He agreed to meet with me and shed what light he could on the Murder Bureau and its operations.
I used to be an officer of the Russian military intelligence, and particularly of the special forces of the Russian military intelligence, which is called the Spetsnaz, which is a rough equivalent of the British SAS. These are the group of officers that are involved or planned to be involved in special operations in case of a necessity or in case of a war. Behind the lines, deeply behind the lines.
So what kind of activities were you expected to do?
Depending upon the situation, of course, could be blowing up bridges, could be poisoning waters in a certain location, could, under certain circumstances, be assassinations of the targets pointed by the commanding officers.
Their targets were mainly émigrés from Bulgaria, people that were dissidents that had left the country. Some of them were genuinely anti-Soviet and communism. Others had just left the country because they weren't too happy and they got a job somewhere else, but they were all targeted.
How active were these agents in Soviet satellite states like Bulgaria?
every secret service of every Soviet satellite country or Warsaw Pact country. They were under complete control of the Russian KGB. They had a representative in the appropriate ministry. They had a liaison officer with the Secret Service, and they were completely controlling all secret services of all former socialist countries. So there were reports on a daily basis, reporting of what's going on, and all operations were coordinated by Moscow.
So the KGB were fully operating in Bulgaria?
They were fully controlling operations in Bulgaria.
Right.
Not operating, because they didn't need to operate.
It was all clandestine, it was all behind the scenes. There were spies, super spies, and the whole damn thing really could have blown up big time into World War III.
The murder squad's key objective was what they called stealthy assassinations. They would slip into cities like London or Paris or Rome, make the hit, and then get out undetected. Now, because of this, they couldn't use conventional weapons, so they had to adapt everyday objects, like umbrellas, for instance, to deadly effect. And they've got examples of that right here. Thank you.
Babtis are a theatrical armourer who provide weapons and ammunition for major films and television productions. They also have a small collection of spy weapons, which have been filmed over the years, all faithful replicas of real-life items.
I brought along some weapons from the army just to show you. These are some of the spy weapons that would be used in spies and special forces type things.
OK. They're all film props, right?
No, they're actually not. No, they're all live weapons. Each one of these is live firing, OK? So be careful when you're handling them, OK?
Right, OK. So talk me through this. What's this one here?
This one is a Stechkin. This is a Soviet-made Stechkin. We press the button here, take the pistol out. There is a pistol. We'll take out the magazine. See that it's clear and safe, there's nothing in it. OK. Pistol, very simple. Fired at close range, OK, not a problem. Mostly accurate out to about 10, 15, 20 metres maybe. But with the addition of this, I can make it into a carbine.
Brilliant. And who would have used something like this?
This would have been used by an officer in the sort of late 60s, 70s and early 80s sort of thing.
How about this one?
This one is a Chinese pistol. It's a Type 56 pistol. It's completely silent. As you can see, it's got a silencer built into it. Very easy to hide. Take it out, completely quiet.
So that's the kind of thing that spies would have used, is it?
Spies would use all kinds of silenced pistols, yeah.
Now, I know what that is. That's a dagger, right?
That's a knife, yeah. Take it out and have a look. So there you go. That's a Spetsnaz dagger. There's something very special about that.
It's quite heavy.
Yep. The reason it's heavy, it's actually a gun as well. If I take out the rack, unscrew it, you can see 4 holes. Oh. This is where the cartridges go. There's a bullet, little 2.2. Would fit in there. You see there's a little sight, little barleycorn sight there and there. That's the trigger. And if you squeeze the trigger, mind your fingers, 4 shots.
That's extraordinary. So if you're missing with a gun, finish them off with a blade.
Getting close with a blade, yeah. It's a nice little boot dagger. It can go in the boot, go on the belt. It's very easily concealable.
And so, again, was this the kind of thing that would have been standard issue in an army, or would this have been for
In the Soviet army, yeah. In the Russian military, definitely, they would have these sort of things.
Right.
This is a Russian weapon.
Right.
But again, can be used by the ex-former Baltic states, Soviet states. You know, they had a lot of this stuff, and it was made.
KGB, possibly?
KGB, definitely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like that? Wow.
The Soviet bloc and the Bulgarian Secret Service developed the most kind of mind-boggling array of secret weapons that are like something out of Q Branch in the James Bond films. You have, of course, the famous poison umbrella, but also then you have what something looks like a knife, but actually inside the handle is 4 bullets. You've got a whole dazzling array of weapons, and also what you've also got the use of are very, very nasty poisons. like ricin. So the weapons they develop are inventive and incredibly unpleasant.
This is actually a pen gun. If I unscrew the actual pen bit of it itself, take it out, you can see there's a pen and the biro, which actually writes.
Right, OK.
And the rest of it is a gun inside there, which I can pull back and fire. And if I unscrew it, you can see where the cartridge goes. There you go, like that, fits in there.
So we're kind of moving into proper James Bond territory now.
Exactly.
I just imagined they were just made for the films and that they weren't.
No,
actually.
they were really. They were, during the Second World War, pens like this were in .32 caliber. They fired the other way, and they were issued to SOE, you know, the Special Operations Executive of, you know, the MI5 and MI6 and things that worked behind enemy lines with the Nazis. And they progressed from then into the Soviet era and the post-war stuff. Pen guns, even lipstick guns as well. Women had lipstick guns.
Really?
Yeah, they had 22 caliber or 32 caliber inside the lipstick. They pull them back and fire them.
That's amazing. So the firing pin is in there, so that just works.
Pull it back,
pulling
pulling it back and letting go.
Sprung mechanism, and that is it.
Yeah. Again, you'd have to be very close to use it.
Right. Okay. And you could that would kill someone, would it?
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
That is terrifying. And do they make these today?
They do make those today. Yeah.
When you're in Service 7, you're assassins on foreign soil. You had to have something quite subtle. A lot of the weapons used by Service 7 seem to be straight out of James Bond. You know, fountain pens that actually fire pellets of poison, this kind of thing. I mean, it was a natural progression from what various intelligence agencies had used during the Second World War. Which were astonishing, you know, including things like exploding camel dung.
And, well, I know what this is. This is an umbrella.
Correct.
What does it do, apart from keep you dry?
It's a gun.
It's a gun.
Right, let me show you. If I twist, pull it back, OK, I'll just unravel it a little bit so you can see where the cartridge goes.
It is a working umbrella.
It's a working umbrella. And they have a 410 shotgun cartridge, fits in the breech, OK, closes out. I won't load it just yet. You close it up. You can walk with it. And when you're ready, can you see the trigger? You point it, fire it.
Goodness. That is amazing. It's a beautiful thing as well.
Been beautifully made, yeah. But
There we go.
Self-defense, it's something you'd walk down the street. It's a concealed weapon, the sort of thing a spy could use.
Do you look a bit conspicuous if it was dry, though, wouldn't you?
You would. So if it was dry, why not use a walking stick?
Oh, OK, right. So that's this. What is there? I've seen these as sword stick, right?
Right. Now, if you twist it and pull it back, that's where the cartridge goes. Close it up again. Right, and twist. And you can walk along. There's no trigger at the moment, so you walk along, pretend that you're a cripple or something or whatever.
Right.
And when you want to fire it, you twist a little furrow, the trigger comes out. Simple as that.
It's ingenious.
Yeah.
Woo! I wasn't expecting that.
Well, I didn't tell you. And then we unload
Wow.
it. Okay.
And where would you get something like this?
They're made abroad, they're made in this country. Some unscrupulous people would probably make you some or convert one for you.
OK. I'm not in the market for one. I was just intrigued.
I don't know.
Bulgarian historian Konstantin Grochev has spent many years investigating the history of Bulgarian intelligence and the work of the Murder Bureau. It makes for a fascinating, if chilling, story.
This Service 7 was a section at the first department of the Foreign Intelligence, which was dealing with the so-called sharp or acute measures. They had two divisions of labor. One was the so-called active measures, propaganda mainly. Those were like making films, making fake articles. This was a very secret department dealing with, in fact, without the euphemism, killing of people.
Let's be clear here. You're talking about state-sponsored assassination.
More or less, yes.
Service 7 actually did have a license to kill from the very top echelons of the Bulgarian government. So therefore it had to be kept very, very secret because, of course, it's probably breaking technically Bulgaria's own laws and, of course, every law going everywhere else in the world. So it was kept incredibly secret. It had very few people working for it. And, of course, all its documentation is written in this highly deniable style. So instead of having, go and kill someone, it was go and carry out what was called a sharp measure, which is this sort of fantastically sort of dark euphemism for literally ordering someone's death.
What happened to all the documents, all the evidence that the department never existed?
The work of the state security services was so much bureaucratized, and everybody was expecting some step in the back. So there were plenty of traces left all over the place there, and in many documents, in many reports, in personnel files, in working files, in plans for the operations, for reports about the operations and so forth. You can find many traces of this and mentioning of that. So probably we are not able to have the whole documentation of what that Section 7 was doing, but plenty of it is still available.
The aptly named Secret Archives building houses millions of files from the Cold War. Although most, if not all, classified or revealing papers about the operations of the Murder Bureau have long been hidden away, or most probably destroyed, there are some traces left, and Alexia was given permission to take us inside.
About 10 years ago, nobody knew that this Service 7 existed. Nobody knew that who they have been targeted and so and so. But later on, when I discovered these documents, I was absolutely shocked and surprised that these documents have been preserved. I found that they created this super secret unit in 1963, 1964. And they have plans for what they have doing. And in this particular document, for instance, you can see the nicknames of 8 Bulgarians who defected out of Bulgaria, and the super secret unit targeted outside of Bulgaria in 9 countries.
It's astonishing that now, as a researcher, if you ask the authorities for documentation regarding Service 7, you will get it, and it will not be redacted, and it will be thousands upon thousands of pages with nothing censored. Basically, code names of people, addresses, details. It's all there.
In one of those documents, I was reading absolutely crazy thing. It's written here that our first task here is to bring back to Bulgaria a person who is working against us. And also, it's written here, on a first look, this probably looks like a dirty job, but for us, this is a very noble job.
There are thousands of secret files still preserved in Bulgaria. And the files, even to this day, still show the code names of the spies. It tells you what was done, who it was done to, why it was done. And unlike America and England and other places, it's there, it's open for all to see.
One of the documents which I found, it's written about special actions. And in this particular case, there's a plan what to do here with this guy Marov. And the term to do this is 20th of April in 1970. And the names of agents who are directed to go to target these people. So for another guy, this is in London. And this is for another guy in Denmark. And the term to do this is January 70, and so on. So all these plans for doing, and at the end of the year, they make a report what they so far have done with these guys. I was surprised in a way to find nicknames, but at the same time, the real names have been blackened. But I wanted to show something more important. In fact, the interest to this issue started when for first time, I requested documents from the American Secret Archives more than 15 years ago. And I got thousands of pages related to Bulgaria. And one of my biggest surprises came out from these documents. This is a list of Bulgarians who have lived in Vienna, in Germany, in Austria, and supposedly, according to American services, have been agents for Bulgarian secret services. So the most important thing which I found on four places is written about Bulgarian member of Soviet-sponsored kidnapping ring. For first time, and this is 4 names like this, about 4 people.
As a historian, if I'm to look at a former MI5 file or something the CIA files, you just find black redactions all over it with just a couple of words, the and but, left open. The irony is if you then go to Bulgaria and you look at their files from even Service 7, the Murder Bureau, you'll find it's remarkably open. You'll find that they've hardly redacted any of it. So, of course, you can look at the files and you can see the code names of some of those who were trying to kill. And you've got this incredible wealth of information that makes it possible for us to really understand what took place.
It's been almost impossible to get anyone from Bulgarian intelligence to talk about their work in the Cold War, let alone actual operations. But we have found one man, General Todor Bo, who agreed to meet me and go on camera. Although his exact role in the spy world is a little foggy, I'm told that he rose to become the deputy of Bulgarian intelligence.
Interestingly, he denies any knowledge of a top-secret hit squad working for them. But, as the old saying goes, he would say that, wouldn't he?
In each intelligence service, not only in Bulgarian intelligence service, in the structure of intelligence, there is counterintelligence unit. Usually there are very, very, very secret, small structures which deal with so-named dirty tricks. Sometimes that means assassination. If there was such a structure, it was so secret that even me, deputy head of the Bulgarian intelligence in charge of information and analysis of political information, I never knew about such a structure.
Service 7 had to be secret, very secret, because obviously we're talking now of the Cold War, we're talking of spies everywhere, people being caught, captured, tortured, and if the guys at the top knew the names of everyone and they were tortured, then there's every possibility that they would give the whole game away. So nobody knew who each other was.
Even though you don't know, and we can't prove it, do you think, on all probability, that they did actually have some super secret unit during the Cold War?
Yes, I know that there was a very, very, very secret unit in the Bulgarian intelligence. But that unit didn't have anything to do with assassination or anything like that. That was a unit in which served top secret Bulgarian intelligence officer. They never entered in their life the building of the intelligence. They didn't have any contacts with their official colleagues, the other officers from the intelligence. In most of the cases, they were known only to the very top of the leadership of intelligence, and their identity was a top secret.
This guy is the quintessential spy chief, and he has been for decades. He's been working with the top 4 or 5 other spy chiefs from other allies and adversaries for decades. He's probably working hand in glove with Russia most of his life. So it's become ingrained in him that he can't reveal anything. This is his training. This is a half-century of training that says, I'm just gonna blog it. I'm gonna tell you I know nothing, and whatever secrets I have, I'm gonna take them to my grave.
In the end, Service 7, the Murder Bureau, was wound down in 1974. It remains one of the most closely guarded secrets of the Cold War.
You have this great disconnect in the 60s between what we think of being the popular culture of the 60s, which is clearly the sort of summers of love and colourful clothing and flares and rock music and people smoking weed and so on and so forth, and that whole counterculture. But of course, underneath it all is this very, very secret Cold War that in the secret world is actually not cold at all. It's incredibly hot because there are spies running around the world bumping each other off.
Many, many years ago, there's a kind of super secrecy crossing around Europe here and there. We didn't know about that years ago, but now when the documents are open, we can easily find out that they kidnap people or poison them or humiliate them or whatever. Because when I published my book about Murder Bureau, I suddenly discovered there's such a similar unit existed in Germany eventually, and also similar service existed in Soviet Union.
The public has no idea that there is everything to play for. Russia, Britain, the United States, world domination is at stake. So there's honey traps, there's spies, double spies, there's all kinds of espionage and weird devices that are being used to poison people, to blackmail people, to get information that you couldn't otherwise get. There was no internet, there were no chat rooms. You had to have spies and double spies. Trust no one was the mantra of the day.
It's not called the Cold War for nothing. You know, it really was a secret war. You've got, you know, the Eastern Bloc who is fighting against the West. So whether it's America or England or, you know, the rest of Europe, there's constantly something going on, and it's just under the radar.
Now, there are no official figures to refer to, but it's believed that Service 7 killed, kidnapped, or poisoned around a dozen people in highly planned covert operations from 1963 to 1974. They were said to be a great inspiration behind the Bond films of the same time, and you can see why. I'll see you next time.